So hello, I'm Megan Jacks. Today is Friday, October 10th, and we've got Scrapbook Live for you today. The project we're doing today is what I'm calling a sketch warm-up. It's actually a sketch from the virtual crop in June of 2020, so like over 5 years ago. But it's a single page sketch. I am going to turn it into a 2-page layout. I'll show you how kind of like my quick down and dirty way to do that is when you have a single page layout that you want to make into a 2-page layout. It's really quick, just like a mirror and a rotate. It just makes it so that it's not like just mirrored and doubled. It gives it a little bit of additional, I don't know, interest. So it's one way to take a 1-page into a 2-page layout, and I'll show that. So I'm going to switch over to my overhead camera. Just as a quick reminder, if you are watching this live right now on Facebook, there is a link to my blog that has the handout, the printable handout. It is just the sketch. There's no like directions, but the sketch has the measurements on it. And then if you're watching this later on YouTube, you will see a link in the description below that'll take you to my blog so you can get that handout. So as usual, I have pictures of my cat, Miss Kitty, and I have some really fun pictures of Kitty and Cody together. Look, I don't think Kitty was very impressed by that, a little hug that Cody gave her, but whatever, she'll survive. And then do your cats do that where they get all twisty there? She's laying down on this blanket and look at that massive amount of fur. I don't know. I went to Rubber Belly and whatever, she decided that was not happening. And then of course, I don't know. She looks kind of like a bored teenager half the time. But, you know, that's just kidding, I guess. We try to keep her entertained, but it's sometimes hard. All right, so what am I working with today? I am working with the Perfect Kitty Cat collection. And I have some things kind of already pre-cut and pre-done. I will admit I am not going to be venturing too far from the original sketch itself. So here you can see the sketch. If you want to check it out on the Creative Memories website, there's a QR code that will take you to the blog article itself. And just as a quick reminder, Creative Memories did do a big update to their blog. It's now called The Pages. You'll probably still hear me call it the blog because I feel that it just rolls off the tongue a little bit better. But these QR codes will take you to the blog. You can check out the new format that they've got going there, but all of those old articles and everything are all there for you to see. And then in the handout below it, I've got some options where I show you a simple mirror if you just mirror. And then down here, I show you a mirror and a twist. So it is technically flipped around. I don't know. It's rotated, moved some pieces around, but using all of the same elements. And you can see up here, I have all of the measurements listed. So I said I'm going to be using Perfect Kitty Cat. I'm going to be putting together the the left page. And then I will show you how I'm going to do the right page. So we'll start with the left page and I'll show you how to do the right page. And I am going to show you, kind of like walk you through how I made some paper choices, because that's always a big thing I think people get stuck with our sketches. We like the sketches that we see, and then we're kind of like, well, how do I start making choices about papers and things like that? So this layout, we start with a base page where it's kind of a lighter white up at the top. I kind of considered that the base page, and that's why at the bottom there is a kind of a bigger 12 by 5 inch tall piece. But I'm going to be using medium craft because I think it goes really well with the pretty colors of the Perfect Kitty Cat. And at the bottom, I knew I wanted to use the plaid. I like this plaid. I like that it is on a darker base. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere this into place because I like where I've already kind of done a lot of the dry fitting on this. So I'm going to put some of my pieces in place. This is a 12 inch, or excuse me, it's 5 inches tall, 12 inches wide. So this would be a good spot where if you do have a little bit more of a statement print, you can go ahead and use this, more of your statement print at the bottom, I think. I think that's a good candidate for it. Because in all reality, we're going to cover it up with a lot of mats And our mats are also chunky mats. So if we do have a little bit more going on here, we can tone it down with some of these, like the rounded rectangle here. We can use a tonal piece there, and then we can use tonal pieces or cardstock for our mats. So just letting that smaller area down here be that statement print that has multiple colors in it can really give us a good foundation for our layout, kind of set the stage with our colors, with patterns. The plaid is pretty understated, but I have all of my colors here represented. So when I am thinking, what colors do I want to use? I'm going to look into my paper. I'm going to look at my plaid. It is, of course, very helpful that Creative Memories gives us collections that also play on those. A lot of times there's tonals that match the colors within the papers. But if you're having to go outside your collection, you'll see I picked a medium blue here, and this is actually from Noteworthy. But it goes with the medium blue that's in the plaid. So I figured that's great. It actually has a little bit of a different texture to it, so I liked that. Now, over here at the bottom, I do have a bigger rectangle, a 5x6 rectangle on the lower right side of the page, and I'm gonna go ahead and go with some pink. Now, I know we all have our opinions about Perfect Kitty Cat. If you have a girl cat, you may be like, this is amazing. If you have a boy cat, you may be not digging the pink, but I have girl cat, and so I'm all about the pink in these. I don't get to use pink in a lot of stuff that I do, so it's fun for me to use pink. I also will say that we will be, I think our time with Just a Girl Cat is going to be coming to an end in November. We are basically adopting a stray cat that my oldest son, found in Pullman, Washington. They're working on getting that little guy to join us here in Phoenix. Okay, so we've got the piece down here. And this is already trimmed to 5 inches wide, 6 inches tall. As I mentioned, I'm pretty much staying with a lot of their measurements because I like the overall look here. You can adjust your measurements based on your layout, based on the things you need it to do. I am good with what they've got. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna use my corner rounder. Again, I like the rounded corners, so I'm gonna stick with that. You could come in with just a rectangle if you don't want rounded corners, if that's not your thing. You could use the notch edge and give yourself that look. If you're not sure what the notch edge looks like, I am not sure how many of you have the two-way corner rounder, but the notched edge looks like that. It just takes out a little like notch. And so if you do that all the way around or on the two sides, you can imagine almost get like a ticket effect. So that's something you can consider doing if you don't want the rounded corners. I am going to go with the rounded corners. So I will go ahead and do that on my layout. And that's going to sit here. Now this piece I'm going to dry fit for the moment because I need to make sure I get everything in here the way I want. Now, I am going to also now create the piece, this rounded corner piece, this rounded. It is 6 inches wide by 5 inches tall. My piece here is already I don't know what it is. I know I'm pretty certain it's 6 inches wide. They're 6 inches wide. I'm going to rotate it and cut it at 5. So now it's 6 inches wide by 5 inches tall. So you can see how it's going to stick out the rectangular format coming over here almost directly to the middle. I am going to once again use my trim or my corner rounder. And that's going to sit there. Now next up, the next piece I want to think about is there's a 2 by 12 inch rectangular piece that comes across the middle. This is another spot where I felt it was a good choice to use the one of the designer papers or one of the more, I don't know how you want to say it, colorful papers in the layout. And now I'm just looking to see, I have one of them cut and I've got to figure out where I put. Oh, there it is. I'm going to use one of the papers, and I thought I had it. Here it is. I hope. There it is. Okay. I keep saying there it is, and I did find it. It is out of the designer paper pack. The reverse side has these words on the diagonal. So I'm very excited about those because I think it is kind of a nice understated, a little bit of all that color again, bringing up the colors here, but even less of that is going to show it because it's a lot going on. And it can be a little distracting, so a little goes a long way. And I just need a 2-inch strip of this. Now, what is nice about this particular paper is that it is on the diagonal. Everything's on the diagonal. So in some ways, it's almost a non-directional paper because no matter which way you turn it, things are right side up and they're also upside down. And that matters because I have one section that's going to go horizontal and I have another piece that's going to go vertical. So if I was using, say, tree paper here that had definite tops to the trees, well, if I cut 2 strips of it and I put 1 strip on the side, my trees would all be pointing to the side. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you are using directional paper and you're trying to make you know, the strips go 2 different directions, you can probably get away with sectioning out the pieces. So I could come in with just some pieces tucked in behind the different elements and the same thing over here. So that's something to keep in mind. If you can't get it to work quite perfectly, you might be able to get away with using some just different sections instead of strips. I'm going to trim this though at 2 inches. And that's going to sit like such. Now it is time to think about some mats for my different elements. I have 3 photos. I have a 4x6 photo over here that is going to use a 4.5 by 6.5 inch mat. And I have cut a mat out of the, this is Lagoon shimmer paper. One element that I forgot to work in here. So what I've got, I need to have this little section here. There's a little 6-inch wide, 1-inch tall strip that's kind of tucked in there. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm looking to see what other colors have I already used. I've kind of used the lighter minty green, the Lagoon. I've got the pink. I've got the mid-tone blue. I've got the beigey color already showing. What is another color that's in my paper pack? Well, it was actually the back side of the plaid. I already had it, a strip of it cut, and it's this houndstooth, kind of a darker teal color. So it will stand out nicely against my Lagoon shimmer paper. Will still pop against it because it's brighter, but it's not too distracting. So that works great. Now over here, I need to have a mat. Now this is where it kind of gets, I'll show you my photos. My photos, there's a 4x6, I left it just as it is. This photo here, I have it a little bit wider than a 3x4. It's 4 inches tall, but it is closer to 3.5 inches wide. And the reason I did that is because I took this picture of Kitty as this 3.5 inch square. I decided that I wanted those to be the same width as each other. Personal preference, you can cut them to however works best. So up here at the top, this is a 3.5 inch square. I need a 4-inch square mat, and I'm going to use the pink. I've got the pink in this corner. I'm going to pull some of that pink up into this corner. So let me go ahead and grab, this is already cut to 4 inches wide. I just need to take it into a 4-inch square. It's a great thing about doing sketches. A lot of times you can work from scraps of paper, various scraps you've used. This will sit under there. Now this one, I need I need a piece here. I need something to be the matte here. And this is where I struggled a little bit trying to decide what I wanted to do. And I was like, well, you know, I've already got my dark pinks. I'm going back here, I've used the dark blue, the kind of the teal color. I said, you know what, there's some light pink in here. So I'm going to be using some of the rose shimmer paper. And I need to have a mat that is going to be, the mat that I need needs to mat this photo. And this photo I said was 3.5, it's 3.5 inches wide by 4 inches tall. I can come up here to my cutting mat and use that. So it's 3.5 by 4. I'm going to write this down. So I need my mat to be 4 by 4.5. So I'm going to come here and trim my paper to 4 inches wide, rotate, and I'll cut this at 4.5. And that should give me a mat with a nice chunky 1/4 inch bound border all the way around. Okay, so there we go. There we're starting to see how our different elements are taking place. I've got my 3 photos placed. Now I can need to come up here and do my title. This is where I decided to make one change. I decided that I wanted to use this brown. It's kind of a tan brown from the paper pack. This is from the matte pack, the matte, but you can see it's this mid-tone tan in there. And I decided that I wanted this to be, I wanted it to have that same rounded element. I can see I've come in here with this side, I come in here with this. I decided I wanted to have the title section coming down. So it will come off the page. Instead of being like a mat in the middle of the page, I actually wanted to descend down from the top of the page. I just decided that I really like this rounded rectangle, the rounded corners on the rectangles coming in from the borders, the edges of the paper. I thought one coming from the top would look really nice as well. So for this one, I need to go ahead and trim this down, but I've got to double check. I already cut one piece the size I want. I'm just going to double check my measurements before I chop it. The piece that I'm going to use is going to be 5.5. It's 5.5 wide by 5.25 tall. 5.5 wide, which I think I'm already cut. So this is 5.5 inches wide. And when I rotate it, it is 5.25. All right, so it is pre-cut to the size I needed. 5.5 inches wide, 5.25 tall. And I will use my corner rounder here. Now, one of the things I note here, I can see, and I decided I'm going to put this over the top of that band. The sketch calls for that band to actually it goes under it. It does sit under it. And I decided that was good. What I decided over here, I need to keep this the size that it is. I don't need to have it be, I can't make it any narrower, but I want a little bit more space here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut that a little bit narrower. And I think I need to take it down from 6 inches to just over 5.5. Yeah, just over 5.5. It's about 5 5/8. Well, I can't see the 5/8 on there very well, so I will use the trusty photo trimmer. So 5 5/8. I guess I could have just cut off 3/8 of an inch and that would have been good. Now when I put this on here, it needs to sit under that pretty word paper. This is gonna go in the middle. This sprawling kitty sits up there and that sits on top. Now I just have a little bit more space around this, which I like. So here's my different elements. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting some of these on and then I'm gonna talk about the title. Let me get these pieces. I'm going to put all my photos on their mats. How many of you guys are going to be scrapping this weekend with the virtual crop? I am scrapbooking tomorrow at a day crop that I'm attending. I'm super excited. I've got to get my stuff all figured out for that. And I'll print off and take those sketches with me to see whether or not they line up with my projects. But they will be going live later today at 5, well, it's 2:30 Pacific time, 4:30 Central. I think Noreen will be going live in the virtual crop group, so you'll want to check that out. And yes, these are photo prints from Creative Memories that I am working with. I posted on my blog or my Facebook page yesterday that I got my photo prints from Creative Memories. I really do like them. I'm very excited. I actually sent off a bunch and more prints this morning to be printed. This long strip does need to tuck in a little bit. I don't want to leave it just flush against the edge. You can kind of see how it sticks out. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck it under ever so slightly. And that way that rounded corner just pops in there. This would be a thing if you really wanted to do maybe a ribbon cut would be kind of cool. I could round that edge. I'm going to leave it as is for now. If I really need to, I can probably pop it, and it's an inch wide. I can use my ribbon cutter piece to do that, to trim that down if I need to. There's Miss Kitty sitting on there. Get these pieces at the top put into place. My processing time with Creative Memories was a little slow. It did take them the full 5 business days to get my order to me. But when I checked with them, they said there was, they're working through the first week of getting the new process in place. And so they are expecting a much faster turnaround time. So I'll let you know how this batch of images goes. And oops, I need to put this under first. But for those of you that don't know, Creative Memories switched their vendor, or they went from in-house processing of photos to they switched to a professional lab. So that's really exciting. And one of the issues I had with my photos from Creative Memories is just inconsistent results. And it's just, of course, frustrating when you send off a batch of photos and you get them back and they're not what you're expecting. So I was using my local Walmart, but then they got to be inconsistent. And so I went back with Creative Memories after I found out they switched their vendor, and I'm very happy so far. So I'll keep you posted on that. But here we go. We can see I've got this over the top here. This is where this photo goes, this square photo. All right, here we go. I'm going to put that on there, and it just kind of gets centered. Contemplative Kitty. Kitty has discovered going outdoors. It's cooled off enough that we do allow her outdoors supervised. Kitty is the dumbest jumper in the world. We have pretty tall fences. We're not too concerned about her getting out of the yard, but we just don't like to leave her unsupervised. We do have random weird animals that like to come. We've never really seen anything crazy, but there are animals, predators, that we definitely don't want Kitty getting snatched by a wayward coyote, hawk, eagle, or anything like that. So she's supervised, but she now likes to dart out the back patio door. So here we go. We've got those in place. Now up here, I need a title. I need something. I don't plan to have a lot of journaling on this because they're just photos. I have a few things to say maybe, but nothing like that needs a substantial amount of journaling. So I created some little embellishments. The Paw Punch, brown shimmer paper, Lagoon, and rose shimmer papers. And I just put those in there, rounded the corners of the square punch because that was necessary. And then I'm going to stick those like such on here. I thought that was a nice detail. Now, one of the great things about the Perfect Kitty Cat, even the Go Fetch, and we've had these in other collections where they give us kind of those half mats. It's on the paper, and actually out of the matte packs you could do this. This is off of the matte pack, or excuse me, the matte paper. There's these cut apart pieces, like there's a paw, and these were kind of like stuck together as a whole row of 3x4 little cards. And I took them apart, and I grabbed this one, but I kind of like that paw, so I don't think I want to use, let me see if I can find one of the other ones. I flipped it over and I was like, well, I'll use that side. But now I'm thinking that I want, and now I have to dig through and find this. Oh, there it is. So I could come in here and see, are there other ones that I would want to cut apart and use the reverse side? Because I do like the plaid, and I like these both. I don't want to cut them up. So I think what I'll do is, because I want the plaid. Let me see if I happen to have a scrap of the plaid already cut. I think, oops, I see something in there. Let me see. I'm looking in my project folder with my pets. Here, oh good, I can cut this one, the reverse side. I just need a 3x4 square of it, or a rectangle, a 3x4. So I have my 3x4 because I was like, oh, that's kind of cute, right? I've got that, that's kind of nice. But I think, well, that's kind of boring. So let's go ahead and trim this down to a 3x4. So it's already kind of cut to the 4 inches tall. I'm just going to clean up some of the rougher edges. And I was like, oh, I can kind of layer that, and that's kind of fun, right? Just a little bit. But then I was like, ooh, what if I were to bring in the pink, a little bit more pink? I'm never going to use the pink anywhere else in my layouts. So if I bring it in like that, now, one thing that I could say on all of these, if I really wanted to get adventuresome, I could have easily come in with the inks, especially the darker brown ink, and I could have inked all of the papers and they would have really popped off the page. I don't know that I would do any more inking beyond that. That is an option. Of course, I could also come in if I wanted to do some stitching, if I wanted to add a little bit more. So those are just some additional techniques you can do, but I do like how this looks. So let me go ahead and I'm going to put all of these different elements down. Get these all just kind of tucked in here. So this is probably the area where I've done the biggest change with the sketch, is kind of just adjusting the title space. And it's just because it worked better for me. I liked the overall feel of it better. I needed a title in there somehow, and this just worked out really well. Just making sure I have it reasonably centered. There we go. Okay, so that would be an okay single page layout, but I have more photos that kind of go in the same vein. So I want to create a second page, and let me walk you through that one, because I don't just want to mirror it. I wanted to do a mirror and a rotate. So let me show you what that's going to look like. So a mirror and a rotate. Here's my base piece, and I do have it here on this bottom it's mirrored and then rotated. So basically, if you were to look at it, this one is mirrored. Now take this one and rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise, and you'll get this piece, this orientation down here. So it's all the same cuts, all the same elements. They're just put on the page in a different place. This can be a great option, especially if you have your photos don't go in the same format as the sketch. If you have a 4x6 vertical photo you need to use and the horizontal doesn't work for you, you can rotate the sketch entirely and get yourself a new combination of horizontal versus vertical. So here we go. We've got that same plaid paper is over here. Here's my pink chunky piece, and it's still at the bottom. I could have changed it, and I could have would have had it maybe coming from the top. May have been kind of fun too. So you can kind of play around with it a little bit. I'm just looking, I'm trying to think, I don't want to do that because then that puts this brown piece right next to it. So I'll stay down here at the bottom. I have my 1x6 piece that goes right next to my plaid. I'm going to put that down. This piece this piece, okay. There we go. It comes from the top. I was like, wait a minute, I'm getting myself confused. It comes from the top. Now here at the bottom is this rectangular piece will come over here. But before I put that down, I need to put down my piece of my diagonal word paper. So Judy's saying I should use foam squares under the paw prints. That is an excellent, excellent idea. I may go pluck those up and put some on. I need to get my foam squares. I tried to organize last week this new my space, how I was having it sit in here, and I put all my foam squares. I put things away like the way they're supposed to be, and now I have to go dig things out, and that's kind of not fun. Okay, so there's my main elements. Now it's time to put photos. Now over here where I had a title, I'm actually going to have a photo. So I'll start putting my photos. Look at this, guys. Kitty sat in my lap. You guys don't understand. I do not have a lap cat. She comes and sits in your lap for about 2 seconds and then moves on. She deposits a mass of hair on your shirt or whatever, and then she moves on. But she is getting better, maybe because it's getting a little cooler out. The house isn't as warm all the time. But her coming and gracing my lap with her presence is a bit of a novelty. So I had to take a picture about it. I had to send it to my oldest because he has lap cats and I do not have a lap cat. I have not a lap cat. Let's see here. This photo comes up here. This photo is a square and it sits like this. I actually printed these as squares and cut them down a little bit. I took them as squares. You guys ever do that? Like you set your phone to square mode for whatever reason and then forget to pop out of it? Yeah, that's me. And then this photo goes into this spot here. So now I do have the embellishments over here. And what I need to do is I need to have a couple more embellishments over here. And so this one I think comes here, and this one will probably go something like that. Now that gets me, we talk about threes. And I'm not always the best person. There are other advisors and designers that are really good with their embellishments. And we think about, okay, well, maybe I need to have 3 on this page. I feel like I can kind of take this as a whole, and I've got a set of embellishments here, 1 here and 1 here. Now maybe this one would be better over on this side, but there's more space over here because see, she's looking here. So this corner is a little tight. I've got a little bit more space over here. I will probably put one little bit of journaling here where, you know, something about that she was kind enough to come sit in my laps. So that is pretty much the direction I'm headed. I will I'm gonna grab my foam squares. I'm gonna have to find them because they're not where they should be. That's not very nice of them. Again, this is what happens when you try to organize to figure out where I put them. Use some foam dots, pop them off the page, give a little bit of dimension. That is definitely a great idea. Now, I saw somebody asking about how did I do the paw punch? So let me show you guys, because this didn't take a whole lot of time to put together since I had a lot of it already pre-made. So let me show you. So I used the paw punch from Creative Memories. And of course, this is sold out. I am so sorry. I wish it was available all the time for us pet owners and lovers that want to have that paw print. But what's nice about the paw punch, and almost all of our punches from Creative Memories, is these shape punches fit really well with the 1 3/4 inch square punch. So the square punch is still available. If you have any of the shape punches from Creative Memories, you are definitely going to want to have the square punch and the circle punch. So you start off, you're going to need one of the square punches or two if you're going to make a pair, because ultimately what's going to happen is we mix and match our pieces. And so we can punch once out of each color with our paw punch and then be able to create two of the embellishments. I'm going to corner around because I want to keep that same theme going in my various elements. I am then going to use my paw punch and I'm going to punch out the paw, and I want to make sure I keep track of the bits that fall out. So there's my paw, and here are my pieces that pop out. So I did that out of the Rose Shimmer. Now the other color I decided to use was the Lagoon because I thought they would pop really nicely off of that darker brown. So I'm going to punch the Lagoon as well. Sometimes, there it goes. Sometimes the paw sticks a little bit. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my repositionable tape and I'm going to adhere my paw print, the punched out paw is going to go on my rounded corner square, and it's going to go, I'm going to do it diagonally. You can do it straight up and down. I decided to do it diagonally because I just liked that diamond look. I liked how that looked. So it's going to go like such. Now, these punched out bits from my Rose Shimmer, I'm ultimately going to put in the punched out pieces, go in and fill in the other spot. To do that though, my suggestion is use the Precision Point Adhesive pen, and you just put it on and you're going to let it dry. It goes on kind of milky, a milky blue. You can see this really well on the dark. See, it goes on like milky blue. And then I'm just fanning it a little bit to get it to dry faster. Normally what I would do is I would work on other things and I'd let this dry. But you can actually start to see it's starting to darken up in the places. It will turn clear when it's dry. And when it's dry, it's still tacky. And then all you do is start dropping those pieces in. So it's pretty quick, pretty easy to put together. The biggest thing is obviously trying to figure out which pieces go into which spot, but that is pretty much how it all goes together. Little toe beans. One last little piece here, and then I'll be done with that demo. All right, so there we go. All right, so once again, here is the layout. I'm gonna grab my foam squares. I'll find them, I'll put those on. I'll pull these up. They should come up no problem and go ahead and put that on there. But all in all, I'm really happy. I think it's nice. It doesn't have that mirrored effect. It looks like, you know, just kind of like all these elements just kind of scattered in here and has a nice detail to it. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys for Scrapbook Live today. As I mentioned, I think before I started recording, I will not be going live next week. I have a event, a retreat that I am doing. So I will be back in 2 weeks. So that will be like October 24th with another Scrapbook Live. So next week, I don't know if I'll have a recording or something for you. Don't hold me to I don't want to overcommit myself because I do have a lot of work I need to get done for that event. I want to make sure that everybody attending has a good time and lots of projects for them to work on. And tonight is starts the virtual crop. We do have a new product release coming on Monday from Creative Memories. I hope you had a chance to check it out. I shared some of the images on my Facebook page, but we have the Gingerbread Fun collection. There is a new Cooked with Love recipe book bundle available. And then there's a whole gob of storage stuff. Those carry-all totes, if you got the or saw the polka dot versions that were available as part of the summer promo, they now have the classic black with blue lining that you'll be able to get those. For advisors, if you are, and customers, it's not just for advisors, but if you were an advisor in the past or you're an advisor now, and you're familiar with our old pods. Our original CM had these pods that they would hold like our stickers, mats. They were just good for storage. If you were an advisor or a consultant back then, that was how you carried a lot of your inventory. They brought those back. That's very exciting. And some other fun storage things. So I've shared some of it on my Facebook page. I'll be sending out my marketing email to my customers. I'll have the new product flyers to share on Sunday in my Facebook group. So they'll make sure you get the information you need so you can determine whether or not you want to get your order put in on Monday. And just as a also reminder of other fun things coming in October is the Secret Box is going to launch a week from Monday on the 20th. So that's Secret Box number 4. That will launch later this month. So I see Marianne's asking if I know the size of the recipe book. It is the scrap journal size. So it's the same size that was available last year that was called, I think, Baked with Love. This one is called Cooked with Love, Cooking with Love. And so it has a little bit more of a cooking versus a baking theme to it, but the book itself is brown. It is and has red foiling on it. And it says recipes, whereas last year's was red with brown foiling. And it is, so it's 6 3/4 inches wide by 10 inches tall. It comes with various decorative elements and recipe cards for you to fill out, to put inside the side loading 4x6 sleeves that are available for the Happy Album. Now, just so you know, those sleeves are not exclusive to the recipe bundle. You can buy those sleeves currently on the Creative Memories website. So if you feel like you want that bundle, but you're going to need more recipe sleeves or sleeves for the recipe cards, go ahead and grab another pack or two. In the Happy Album, or excuse me, the scrap journal size, you should be able to get 2 packs of those in there, no problem. The Cooked with Love does come with some divider pieces, and it will give you a little bit more bulk to the album. So that is kind of where that's going. I see Nina is asking, will one of the new pods fit the letter sticker packs? Yes. There is it's called, I think it's called the sticker pod, or maybe called the large pod. It is large. It's wide, and that is 12 inches wide. I don't want to have readily available because I only had a couple of them. So I really didn't use them much because it didn't really hold my entire collection of stuff. But now that I can get more of them, I'm very excited because it has little dividers and things like that I think will be really fun. So Nina, I know you're going to be with me next week. I will have all of that to show you. So you'll definitely be able to get a hands-on view of that at the retreat next weekend. I'm very excited to be able to show everybody in person some of the fun things. But I think there might be some videos as well available. And of course, as advisors get their new products next week, we'll see more videos. All right, that's what I have for you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. I am looking forward to seeing you guys all in 2 weeks. For those of you joining me in Phoenix, I am so excited. I cannot wait I get to meet some people in person for the very first time, and that is always, always exciting. So take care. I will see you all soon. I'll have this, if you came in late, I'll have the video posted here in the next hour or so onto the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to check it out there. Thanks so much for watching.